Hello everyone, my name is Dead Pallet and I like peeing. Today we're going to be reading a story entitled Public Toilet, a short horror story from the creepypasta Wikia fandom. We're going to be reading this story and seeing what it has in store for us. A man is walking home from work late at night in the dark. Unfortunately, he is desperate to go to the bathroom, so he decides to take a trip to the nearest public toilet. However, he is hesitant to walk across after spotting a strange figure lurking outside the building. Very relatable, very real-life horror that we're dealing with here. Pretty bog standard, old-timey creepypasta opening. I'm kind of digging it so far. Upon closer inspection, he realizes that the figure seems to be a disabled person hobbling around the outside of the toilet. That's a little weird. Like, is he? What do they mean by like toilet? Like the bathroom room or the toilet itself? I think they mean the bathroom room. But that's the fun of English, ambiguity. He then thinks it must be a woman from the body shape in feminine clothing. The woman appears short because both shins split painfully outwards, like she had a severe case of knock knees. With every small step, her legs seem to bend and snap painfully under her weight, even though she is extremely thin. Her face is covered messily with long hair, and her knee-length dress is dirty and gray. This is a very plain Jane, plain English way of describing what this person looks like, and I'm a fan of it because it's very clear and to the point and vivid and visual. Dirty gray clothes, knee-length, thin person, weird knees, can't even support its own weight. That's kind of a horrifying idea. I again am digging this so far. Her left, and again, it's a monster, but it's not a monster. I like that. Her left arm is deformed and bent outwards. Her right arm is a strangely shaped walking stick. She groans and wheezes quietly as she leans on it for support. This is getting weird and a little bit unbelievable that you wouldn't mention that to begin with. The man is both concerned and frightened at the strange sight, so he decides to hide behind a tree. Would you do that if you saw a person who was presumably just a disabled person? Would you be afraid? This is a man after all. I'm assuming he has some weight on her, some height on her, some reach on her. After taking some time to calm down, he becomes angry at himself. Firstly, for being such a coward. Well, there you go. And secondly, for being terrified of someone so unfortunate. Again, great. I like that they're lampshading that issue. It's not her fault for being disabled, and so he should probably just take pity on her and mind his own business like any other ordinary person would. Perhaps the dark had simply terrified him out of his mind. I don't like the simply terrified him out of his mind, but the idea that he did just spook himself in a really stupid way, and he's feeling kind of bigoted and oh, what kind of person am I? I like that. He tried to imagine the scene in daylight, as he always does to calm himself down when he becomes nervous and alone late at night. So he's kind of a giant pussy. This guy's just a pussy. Despite this, he is still creeped out, so he decides to wait outside a little longer. After a while, he sees her enter the men's toilet, confirming his suspicions that she had mental issues as... Not going to touch that one. Mental issues as well as physical disabilities. Not necessarily. You could be a cisgendered woman and go into the men's bathroom because the ladies' bathroom is closed. Some other kind of issue. Maybe you just want to poop in the men's room. By now, he is desperate, so he approaches the door cautiously, but decides to walk away again after he thinks it would be awkward to tell a woman to get out of the men's toilet. Why would that be? This person is just a giant pussy and is non-confrontational. I like it. We get a good idea of this character. Which he would eventually have to do one way or another. So it would be very dark inside. Also, it would be very dark inside, and he didn't want to be with her alone. Why would it be dark inside the public toilet? Normally they're lit. I don't... Is that... Am I just like in a fancy area with fancy lit toilets? I don't know. Approaching footsteps made him jump and hide, and he hides behind the tree again, but is irritated at himself once he sees that it's just another man walking by. The other man looks at him and says, "What the fuck is wrong with you, mate?" The other man enters the toilet, but he doesn't come out after a long period of time. Maybe he's making a doo-doo. This makes him even more nervous. At last, the man gathers up the courage to go inside and is about to do so when he sees the woman come out of the building, hobbling out of the door with difficulty as she leans on her walking stick, which is her hand. That again is kind of weird. Don't know what to make of that. That she has a walking stick hand. She just has a deformed boom and she's just walking on it. I don't know. What I will say is that I like the atmosphere of this. This is a story that is well suited to either the God narrative, the God perspective, or the first person narrative. This story could work in both ways. I like the direction that they've taken with it, but the ambiguity and like the whole like she has a walking stick hand is really kind of distracting me. Relieved, he finally emerges from his hiding place and advances towards the building, shaking his head with a smile. It was just a quick wave of anxiety. That was all. Yeah, I think that some people, not so much me, but I think that there are people who can relate to this kind of anxiety. Anxiety over stupid stuff that you shouldn't have anxiety over, and you can't control that, right? After the woman catches sight of the man, she starts to hobble slowly towards him. He ignores her, but when she starts to limp towards him at a frightening pace, he stops in confusion. She is groaning loudly with a hint of a chuckle, and her breathing is now a mixture of panting and growling. At first, he thinks that she is coming towards him for help, or because she is in pain. Suddenly, she catches sight of something which immediately makes him turn and run for his life. In her right hand is not a walking stick, but an axe, still dripping with blood. Written by Rinskuro 13. So, overall thoughts on this story, I want to know what you think, but my personal feelings are that this is above average. It's very much so a nostalgic kind of story, hitting me in the nostalgia spots, in the nostalgia bone. I don't know. It's a classic kind of creepypasta. It's what you would see in the early days of 4chan, Xboard, etc., etc. So it's not. It's a blast from the past, and I'm enjoying that about it. I think there's some like wonky stuff here and there, a little bit of like over dramatics, but I do think that the anxiety aspect of this story is on point, and I can very much so visualize this. I'm placing myself there. It's a pretty visual story from me. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to check out the Fear Fiction Podcast, where myself, Abysme, and Slime Beast read and critique short horror stories, paragraph by paragraph, and bullshit while we do it. I have a Ko-fi as well. Give me money.